Morning. This is Jim Whining, an ordinary man, and we're talking about a surge in faith today. And sometimes it's hard to find it. Sometimes it's disappointing, and sometimes we're accelerated by the fact that there really is miracles out there, and God is really paying attention. So this morning, I want to talk a little bit about the surge that we're seeing among men who have become attached part of the Christian movement. I don't know if it's connected to Charlie Kirk. I don't know if it's connected to some uh, experience that's going on in this country and in this world. But I do know this: we need to focus on the difference between faith and hope. You know, hope says that you believe that something is going to happen, and that's something that's going to happen is going to be really good, and or really an answer to your prayers. The difference between hope and faith is that faith says that you believe it, and you believe it without any evidence whatsoever, because you know your God and you know how he works. Now the concept today needs to recognize, for every one of us, there are miracles. They don't all occur in Africa or some far off place. They can occur right in your own community, your hometown, your church, your school. They can occur. And what I want to talk about is a one miracle that has happened to me. And I've been blessed with, I probably could say, 5 miracles in my life. And I don't necessarily wake up to them. I don't necessarily say, wow, God has a hand in what's going on today. But I can go back, maybe 20, 25 years ago when I first was starting in ministry and had left business. And when I had um, a small church in Lee Summit called Heaven's Gate Gospel Church. Very spirit driven church, very community oriented, providing assistance to families with members that had autism, families that were experiencing drug addiction, families that were homeless, families that were on very hard times, and a ministry service that was spirit filled. One day, no, not one day, every day usually, when I had that church in Lee Summit, I would get in the morning and drive around the town and look around to see what was going on, actually looking for homeless people and see if there was something I could do to bring them to our church. We had a large pantry, clothes closet, and a warm place for people to just reflect and see if there's something we could do, maybe a temporary job, maybe a temporary housing location, etc. One morning, I was driving around in Lee Summit, downtown Lee Summit, Missouri, and I felt the Holy Spirit nudge me and say, turn. And so I try to be as obedient as possible to the Holy Spirit when it speaks to me. So I turned, and then I was driving. I was looking around. Then it was pretty close to the city hall there, and then all of a sudden he said, "Turn again," and I turned, and then he said, "Stop," and I stopped right on the road, and he said, "Look," and I looked to my left, and then I looked to my right, and then I saw this building, and it was vacant, and it was across the street from City Hall, and in Lee Summit, and and then all of a sudden I felt like this was the spot for help. There wasn't any hope. I wasn't hoping for this place. I wasn't hoping for a change. I, I was just all of a sudden in faith directed to this place to say, hey, this will be the free store. And it was. And the Lord just said, call, and literally gave me a number to call. And I walked around the side of the building and there was a number, and I picked it up, called it. I can't remember the gentleman's name, but I know he was a defensive end, I believe, for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And he had owned that property, probably as an investment. And I told him that this was Pastor Jim Whining, and I'm here in your building here that you have for sale and or rent, and I'd like to ask that you would rent it to me for free for 6 months. And he said, what? And he said, I said, I want to have a place that we can give away free clothes and food and toys and make a difference. I think it was like maybe late July, early August. And he said, and do you think you can get a permit to do that kind of thing there? And I said, I have no idea, but I know I'm supposed to do this. And he said, well, okay, if you can get the permit to occupy it as a retail store, yes, you can have it for 6 months for free, and then we'll talk about rent or you moving out at that time. I said, okay. Hung up the phone, walked across, parked the car, walked across the street, and there were, I forget the name. I think his name was, I can't remember his name. But anyway, I came up to the person. I said, I need to talk to, and I gave the name, and he said, uh, I don't know, I guess permits or zoning, etc. And I told him, and they said, yes, he works here. I had no idea what his name was. Truly walking in faith. You know how scary that is? Have you ever done that? Send me an email, 4321 ACTS, like the book in the Bible, at gmail.com. Send that to me. Tell me if you've ever walked in faith like this. I mean, it's a different experience, I will tell you. And then I asked for this gentleman. He pops up, and I said, I've got this store across the street here, and I want to open it up for a free store to help people this winter and fall and winter, and make a difference in their lives, and hopefully find them jobs and places to live. But it starts with a place that they can come and feel safe and get some food and clothing and shelter. And I'd like to have that building to rent. Can I have a permit? He looked at me and he said, well, yes. And he pulled out some sort of a pad, signed it, and handed me a slip. And I walked across the street. I called the football player, and he said, you're in business. And a few minutes later, a real estate agent came by and gave me some keys. We opened up that store. I think it was maybe late September, something like that. It was in fall. And we had clothes. I mean, we had very nice clothes. We had toys. It was a room size, maybe 1,500 square feet. And we packed it with wonderful new toys. People donated, and clothes and toys and food. And we had a truck come by and deliver milk, and it would sit out there for free milk and juices. And it was a wonderful mission. And I think we gave away, I don't know how we totaled it. I don't know. I had a wonderful secretary who was very, very organized and helped me. And literally, it was her help was remarkable. I mean, Brenda was just amazing. And I had some pastors, I guess I can say their names, Robert Lawrence and Johnny Trevelyan. What great guys. And I mean, everybody just came together. We had tables and desks, and people sorting clothes. And it was a wonderful experience for the Lord. And yes, He had told us we needed to do that. And I know we did because I knew that church, which hadn't been there that long, was helping people who were who had no home, who had no jobs. It was just an amazing experience. And by faith, I found it. By faith, I started it. And by faith, people saw that and they grabbed on to the faith we had in this mission. And it was truly doing the right thing where needed. And we did that. And I thank the Lord so much that I listened to His guidance. I was obedient to His commands. And the result was a wonderful service. I think we had over $500,000, like I said, and I don't know, probably more than that in body count of people who came. It was packed all the time. It was a remarkable event. And as with anything in Ecclesiastic, there's a time for something, and then there's not a time. And so the store eventually closed. I think it was like 6 months at the end of the lease. And I hoped some other areas would step in, and I believe some have. But let me just say something. When you hope, when your hope is high, remember there is faith that will see you through. Because by faith, we are guided and directed by the Holy Spirit to do God's will. You know, take a moment, and I'll do this today after this show's over, and pray. And in those times that we are challenged, that we are literally up against a wall, take a moment in prayer. Be thankful for where you are. Let the Lord know you're at peace with His support, that you have faith, that He will tell you what direction to turn. By the way, before I close, don't forget to tune in the mornings on Wednesday at 9 o'clock for Changing Times with Lynn Morris. What a remarkable program with nearly 300 programs they've had. You will be much better informed. You will receive tremendous information that is literally life-changing and life-sustaining. Don't miss it. It's every Wednesday. It's at 9 o'clock. It's on Facebook and YouTube and all the social networks. But focus on that, because that is a good program, a good solid piece of information, and it's Christian based. Thank you for listening. This has been Jim Whining, an ordinary man, saying, have faith that tomorrow God will give you more guidance and He will give you the peace of understanding.
That sounded good.